Welcome to yet another Sunday trucking show. AFT Dispatch, A2C Logistics. Welcome. Looks like we got a few viewers. Thank you so much for stopping by. Let's go. Awesome. Nathan Eberly saying hello. Don't stop till you die. And now we're regular in the chat and the videos on our weeklies. Thank you so much, you guys. So cool. Just gonna wait till some folks log in. Sorry for being late, you guys. I don't know if Alex is gonna join us or not. He may join us towards the end with some stuff he wanted to share. Hey guys, how's it going? Hope everyone's having a great Sunday. And today we're gonna cover a few different things, but one primarily. And I'm still debating whether I'm gonna cover the whole thing because I think I'm gonna make another piece of content out of this that's gonna go into greater detail and put it on our blog because the notes alone are 8 pages long. What's going on, Andre Johnson the second, best trucking live stream. Hey, thank you so much. Don't stop. Thank you so much, guys. Definitely appreciated all the viewers jumping in, popping in here. Running late today. I actually spent a good amount. Stopped by in the morning at a coffee shop to actually take these notes on this specific story because I decided to switch things up about what I was actually going to cover. And then Alex mentioned that he was running, very late, so he may or may not join us, which is totally cool. And ultimately, what we're going to talk about today is kind of a response. How you doing, Trey? Trey Lincoln in the house. What's up, man? So what we'll talk about is there were some folks in the comments on the last week's video on a weeklies that were saying, hey, man, there's not even a reason to produce this video. There's no reason to talk about these things. These things aren't going to be in effect till 2045, 2048, 37, whatever, all these far off dates. And so I wanted to take the time to start doing a little bit more research in terms of, is that really the case? Because in that video, as I mentioned, that actually very close, over the next few years, literally, California's going to have to switch over their light and medium equipment, trucks, buses, things like that, all to zero pollution stuff. So that's actually right around the corner. And that, it won't just be a snap of the fingers, the flip of a switch. It's going to take a little while for that to happen. And so I wanted to do a little bit more research to get an idea of what it is that we're actually looking at as far as specifically the trucking industry. Who are the players? Do we have a full ecosystem? Do we have providers and we have all the people in place in order to provide the trucks, the electrification, the electricity itself, like everything that needs to happen, all the autonomous stuff that we've covered in, over the years, tons of videos about autonomous trucking, Tesla, and the Nikola company, other companies we've also covered that the names don't come to mind right now. Some of those companies went out of business, other ones did not, some are pushing forward, and we're talking about all of this stuff today. So it was so long on the notes that I actually ended up having to, because I didn't put sections in my notes, unfortunately, because I was just going through it. So I had to get AI to give me a kind of a summary of what I was going to talk about with you guys. So what we're going to look at is some of the challenges, some of the benefits, some of these things, and how close and how soon are they coming? What are the technologies that are being developed right now that will be hitting the industry while you guys are all employed in it, while I'm employed in it in our lifetimes very soon? And that, again, I got to reiterate that these things happen on an interesting basis where they don't just appear one day. They'll make a law and something becomes outlawed. None of those things. So we're going to look at the challenges, the benefits. We're going to look at some of the alternative fuels. And by the way, before I even say anything, this actually came specifically, I should give credit where it's due. So this came from one single source that was very well cited. It was from FreightWaves. I wrote the name of the gentleman. So in response to some of the kind of the last week's video, his name is Alan Adler, and he's at FreightWaves, which he clearly lays out this as a this bigger issue than most people think. And despite the seemingly distant timelines, I wanted to look at all of these things. So I actually rolled this stuff out, and I was actually looking at some of the synopsis that that AI produced for me. But basically, we're going to look at all the different trends and overall, where is this going? Where is this looking? Just going to wait for more people to pop in. I promise this is going to be an interesting one. There is a lot of information to cover, and I promise you guys that when people come around and say that the technology is a ways away. It's not. The advancement is very quick, and there is going to be adoption. There is already adoption, a mass adoption. As we're going to see through the remainder of this video, there are some very big players. There's a lot of talent, and there's a lot of money behind all this, a lot of experience. So again, this was by Alan Adler. Give credit where it's due. FreightWaves did a great job on this. Alan did a great job on this. And again, this is in response to some of the folks in the comments, because they made some legitimate points, and it just means that I wasn't clear enough when I presented this information. Now, let me actually show you guys what I'm referring to. I think, yeah, this is it right here. Let's see, we got some, it was this right here. So this is the story, Alan Adler. You guys can look at it, and I also mentioned that you may want to, you can even listen to it. Now, I've shut off all those things, but you can actually listen to it. They have an audio, this 11 minutes long, and it'll read it to you in a very pleasant voice. So, if you're driving down the road, that's, the way to go. Or maybe you're listening to our video, but because I promise you this is going to be a good one. So, very well put together article, looked into many different things. I don't see a lot of good journalism. I look through a lot of the sources, the citations, things like that. And a lot of times people will just cite general websites like the American Trucking Associations. They will cite pieces of studies, but not cite the studies. Show me the info. Don't put me on a chase. And then sometimes I notice that it's made up information, and you can go in circles doing stuff, but they just basically find something that's going to benefit. And I'm not talking about FreightWaves, just journalism out there. There's a lot of yellow journalism. Now, Trey Lincoln saying that Trump said that if he's president, that he'll undo all this EV BS. So here's the thing. Do you use sonar? Trey, I don't. So the high cost of sonar doesn't make sense to, so it makes perfect sense to me. Just the amount of time that I know that once I get the package, I'm not going to be able to put in the time necessary to be able to actually put it to really good use. It's last time I checked, it was $7,000 for a year upfront that I had to pay in order to get their sonar activation codes or whatnot. So, but I do use their data. Let me kind of put it that way. I get it from other sources, and I do rely heavily on like Autry and things like that, and a lot of their other indicators. But I don't have a subscription, unfortunately. So we'll cover each area section by section, much like the quoted article, which I'll link in the description box. We definitely worth a read, definitely worth a listen. And then to quickly kind of respond to those comments, there are multiple timetables from multiple governing bodies and organizations that put a lot of pressure on our legislatures. So that's the reason why we shouldn't think that this is going to take forever and ages, and you'll be retired by then. So that's not really this, because let's not forget that by 2027, that's only 2.5 years from now, we're in May, all medium and heavy-duty vehicles purchased by any local or California state government, these are my words, so if things are screwed up or badly worded, this isn't like AI or anything. So, but basically, local or California state government, they have to be 100% emission-free in the next 2.5 years. So that's, we're talking small to medium size. So this is going to be an issue. Now, let's also not forget that last year's bill that bans, that actually passed, and that bans the sale of gas-powered cars by 2035 and big rigs 10 years later. Okay, not that far away. 2035 is not that far away. Miranda uses sonar. Miranda does some really cool stuff, really cool videos. I do like her stuff. I do watch her stuff occasionally. And she definitely has a very interesting audience. It's not my cup of tea because, and again, I haven't watched enough of her stuff, but the videos that I have seen, they were the earlier videos when she started using stuff a little bit. And what I disliked, I'm really trying to pick my words here, was that sometimes she misread the information on which the entirety of the video was built on. And considering that she would get tens of thousands of views out of those videos, primarily viewed by carriers and owner-operators, truckers, I felt that this wasn't a very good choice for me. Now, again, I should revisit. I'm sure she's improved and changed things, and I don't want to, badmouth or talk badly about someone, especially when my information is dated. But those are things that I've seen on more than one occasion, and that's been kind of an issue. So that's all it is. So establishment won't let 45 back in with the big chair. into the big share. Look at what they did to JFK. So there's definitely a lot of a lot of thoughts about that. But ultimately, Trump or not, there would be it's just a matter of how much drilling and how much oil and how much energy independence we would have. But ultimately, that energy independence would still lead in very crude ways towards electrification of our entire system. Electric system, and it just depends on how they're going to go in that direction. So one administration is going to be slower, the other administration is going to move much faster. Either way, there will be issues, and we're all going to move in that direction one way or another, whether we like it or not. So again, having these things happen over the next 5, 10, or 20 years, we'll see a multitude of other laws and regulations which will lead to reaching these final goals, if you will. And, under all circumstances, it will bring the death of the diesel engine. I truly believe that. Like it or not, that's the truth. Technological progress is absolutely unforgiving. And you can see that, Moore's Law is still in effect. It's still alive. It's still kicking. There's a lot of resistance and even hostility toward electric vehicles, trucks in particular. I've seen that on every single video that I've made, and I'm not an apologist for the industry. I'm not here to say these things. I'm just looking at it with very sober eyes. I personally think that some form of electric or hybrid electric is going to be the ultimate outcome, and I think that smaller vehicles will use fuel cells, and large vehicles like semi-trucks, they will be hydrogen electric, all right? So they're going to have highly pressurized hydrogen electric for actual OTR work. Right now, we're not there. At best, we got mid-range. At best. Now, another reason all of this will definitely move forward is because there's a lot of very strong talent and experience in many of the leading roles shaping the industry. And I saw that in this article as well. Some of the names there were absolutely amazing that they were being involved, that they were being promoted, and certain positions are actually being created within that sector in order to actually move that forward. So super important and much much bigger, much more prevalent than most people think. Again, it's going to come much sooner, and it's moving much faster than most people think. Good afternoon, guys. Hope everyone's well. Adam Woods in the house. Thank you. Looks like you've changed your picture there, your profile picture. So this is the reason why I keep coming back to these things. This is the future. It's the only matter of time before the cost and capacity cross paths. And it will be sooner than many think. Now, electrification is the big thing right now. It's getting all the government funding. It's getting all the grants. It's getting all the attention. There's a ton of money to be had. That's the reason we're seeing so many companies that have popped up and just taking advantage of all these things, because it's just a free-for-all as long as you have the technology in the background to be able to do that. So everyone has an opinion on all this, but only a few companies are actually doing something with these new technologies on any relevant scale. There's been a ton of entrants, and we've seen these things over the past several years. I want to say like the last 5 years, we've seen a huge amount of entrants. However, let's talk about a major one that you and I are all familiar with, and we're talking about Ryder. Now, we work with so many Ryder trucks, Ryder equipment. We've worked with carriers who exclusively work with Ryder. Some are happier than others. So no matter what your opinion on their business practices or how they conduct their business, they're an excellent option. They're a company that was started in 1933 with just one truck. It was a cement truck, and has successfully grown a very large organization serving many of this channel's viewers. Like I said, with a lot of the folks we work with have actually built a business on Ryder trucks. Now, it's much more difficult now. It was a lot easier when money was easier to come by. Justin Axford saying, good evening, everyone. Coming to you from Burlington, Kentucky. Heading up to Chicago tonight for a customer load. Well, fantastic. Even if you're deadheading, it's Midwest. It's going to be a lot lighter, and the customer loads tend to pay a bit better. So be safe out there, Justin. Thank you for stopping by. We'll keep on with the show. So I'm going to go in and out throughout this video, coming back to Ryder, coming back to some of these other manufacturers. That's why I wanted to really spend today on this specific video. So I know that this video is not going to get the number of views. It's not going to get even now the concurrent number of folks. But I promise you that this is going to open up your eyes in terms of where is it all going. Put all the pieces together of this puzzle and make it accessible. And I'll make sure if Alex stops by that he's able to actually join us. So I want to lock him out so he can at least ping me and send me a message. Okay. So what I'm getting at is this. Ryder did a large-scale study using their own dedicated fleet of trucks, and from what I can see, they did it absolutely right. They actually approached it in the same way that I keep telling you guys to approach your businesses. Now, one thing that the viewers that come back to our videos quite frequently, I harp on knowing your business, your operating costs, know where you're at, and know your expenses, basically, right? That's where it comes down to. And I get a lot of pushback on that. Some people refuse to do it. Some people do. Some people are very much surprised when they actually do the homework. And so the reason I bring that up is because that's what Ryder did. So in this study, in this report, that's the approach that they did. And basically, I keep telling you guys to do this, and that's kind of their approach. So Ryder's survey confirmed the views of proponents of electrification who say that electric trucks do in fact cost more to acquire. Okay, I'm still with you. The acquisition cost of new electric semi-trucks is 2 to 3 times the cost of a traditional diesel semi-truck. 2 to 3 times the cost. Okay, and this is not an old survey. This is today's numbers. The benefit is, of course, that there are overall less parts, nearly no maintenance, and charging times and battery capacity will only improve with time. I'm not going to go into the overall damage to the environment these trucks claim to save. The damage is front-loaded, in my personal opinion, during the manufacturing process, during the mining process for minerals and other necessary elements needed to manufacture the battery component of this entire system. Adam Woods, the electric trucks craze is a money grab at this point in the game. And yes, it is biased, coming live from oil country, Edmonton, Alberta. Hey, man, honesty, at least, is the best policy. It always has been, always will be. So I'm with you on that. I've considered jumping into the Tesla, but I missed the buy-in date because we're thinking back and forth, and they removed the buy button. I regretted it. It bothered me. It was an excellent piece for our application, for at least my one piece of our business. It would have been perfect, but I missed it. And as time went by, I feel like I may have dodged a bullet. I feel like I may have dodged a bullet, but it is a free for all. It is a craze. There is a lot that's going on. It's like a new industry and a big push. And part of it is more of on a global scale, where who's going to be the leader of this, and the whole carbon neutral and all this other stuff. So at the end of the day, after all the benefits, they're clear that these trucks don't pollute during operation. In some cases, they actually create water. So the question is whether you want to pollute now or you want to pollute later. So pick your poison, all right? So we've talked about the lacking electrical infrastructure and already strained grid. We've talked about that ad nauseum in multiple previous videos. There are other channels that have covered it in great detail. There's a recent estimate that showed that an investment cost of almost $1 trillion would be necessary for the electrification of the United States, basically. I think personally that would be how much it would take just to do California. And California residents currently pay the second highest amount of electricity as it stands. I'm pretty sure the first is probably Hawaii or something. But electric trucks produce a very large strain on the electric grid, because there's already been a company that tried to open up a small little fleet of trucks out in California. I forget where it was, and they couldn't do it. Now, they also lack the payload, as is being found. The payload capacity is lower, and that leads to even more trucks on the road because the batteries weigh a ton. They get a little bit of leeway. They can haul a little bit more than us. We're at 80,000. They can do, I think, standard registration is like 84,000 or something like that. So that's to give space for the batteries and in order to have capacitance or capacity in the truck, but nonetheless, it's still less than that. So you need more trucks on the road to haul the same amount of tonnage. How is that beneficial to the roads? All this rubber and brakes and the dust and particulate matter, blah, blah, blah. And then you have to retire those trucks. And then you have to charge those trucks, which generally the electricity comes from fossil fuels. So there's that. So there's kind of that. So I really think that there's a lot that can be said in this area. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. I mean, in the chat here, what do you guys think? I mean, is that if electric trucks became the norm and they were actually affordable, relatively speaking, comparable to diesel trucks, would you get them? Would you haul freight with them? Would you be opposed to do it? Would you leave the industry? Would you be okay with that on a local, on a regional, on an OTR basis? Something else to think about, guys. A recent report by the American Transportation Research Institute showed that renewable diesel is 1/6 the cost of EVs when it comes to reducing carbon dioxide emissions. Nobody talks about this. So if that's the case, why not explore this with more money, more effort? Why not explore this any further? 1/6 the cost. Okay, so we'll talk about this as well. But coming back to Ryder, their study, what they really did right was look at the total cost to transport, not piecemeal. So what they did wrong was not being very clear about whether or not they accounted for the different EV tax credits that are available federally and on a state level, especially state and local incentives. Specifically at California, they're really big on that. Been really big on incentivizing investments into electric vehicles of all kinds. And Mahdi Abduz is saying, "Hey, Vitaly, do you only work with MCs that are over 90 days old?" Mahdi, right now, I have to tell you that's the case. Because it's not that we don't want to do it, it's just that it's a waste of time for you as well, man. There's really nothing that we can really do to really make a spectacular difference for you. Once you hit 90 days and you do a few things during that period, if you're 0 to 90 days, get some references, get some inspections under your belt, make sure that everything's taken care of, permits, all those, handle everything, get yourself really ready and really mentally ready to actually run really hard, right? Once you hit 90 days, we can really make a big difference. Sometimes if the carrier is willing to really listen to dispatch, be coachable, be open, and actually work with their dispatcher directly, understanding the difficulties that they're going to face, we can even make an exception and get you going to 60 days, but you have to be aware that it's going to be hell to pay and you're going to spend a lot of time on the road. So hopefully that answers your question. Anything other than that, please, call us. Speak with myself, speak with Alex. He's going to be available starting tomorrow morning. And you can always reach us at 801-448-6363 and hit extension 1. And then that'll get to us. So coming back to Ryder, what Ryder did is they looked at the vehicle costs, they looked at maintenance, they looked at driver pay, they looked at driver benefits, charger costs. They looked at the range of these electric trucks. They looked at the payload of these trucks, as well as diesel fuel versus electricity, right? So which was a big deal. And they compared it to total cost of ownership. And to be fair and even more accurate, they also accounted for the electric vehicle charging time and equivalent delivery times. So they were very fair. I think Ryder was very fair in doing this. So here are their findings, and this is kind of where we're going with this. The study findings are absolutely mind-blowing, but in many ways, and I'll put this on our blog, that's why it's written this way, because these are notes for me to use later to write a more easy to read blog post. But we're a little bit more unfiltered here today in our video. But the study finds it absolutely mind-blowing, but in many ways not surprising. Speaking specifically from the point of view of operating out of California, the figures showed the following. Super interesting. Only 3 categories. I know you guys are interested with the third category, the heavy-duty tractors, but bear with me because it's going to paint a picture. Light-duty vans. Electric vans cost a little more to operate. So they found that the difference was about $5,000 per annum, annually, right, to operate each year. This is because the vans themselves are more expensive and take longer to charge. However, you save a lot on energy costs because electricity is cheaper than diesel. Medium duty trucks, so your mid-level stuff, right? Electric trucks are more expensive to operate annually. These ones were at $48,000 more, so a significant jump from $5,000 because the trucks themselves are much more expensive than diesel trucks, but you'll still save on fuel costs with electricity. Look at that. Now we jump into heavy-duty tractors, drum roll. We have a button for that. I just don't remember which one it is. Could it be... Maybe, all right, we'll take it. Heavy-duty tractors. Electric tractors are significantly more expensive to operate annually. The difference was $315,000 more, around that number, around $315,000. This was due to the high cost of buying the electric trucks, but again, they still saw a benefit from cheaper electricity costs for energy. So basically, Ryder found that the battery-operated truck was 94% more money to operate. They approximated that the acquisition cost to be at 500% higher than a traditional diesel truck, but they also did not include any discounts or incentives. So those are going to be quite heavy. There's going to be major discounts, major incentives, major tax credits, things like that. But considering that it's going to cost you 94% more to to operate the truck and 500% higher cost of acquisition, is that real? Are we there yet? So that's what I wanted to show you guys in that part. Now, got a few guys in the comments here. There's our Pakistani gentleman, Pak ABYT. How this change affects on the dispatcher, like a positive impact or negative. Thank you. Have a good day, sir or ma'am. So how does this affect us as dispatchers? So here's the thing. With this type of technology on that level, with electrification, with fuel cell technology, with short and mid-level hauling, with distance control, with multiple monitors doing the backing up on and off ramps and on ramps and things like that, getting on and off freeways, being operated by, let's say, like a guy with a video game controller, with a bunch of monitors. The question is really going to be, is there going to be a need for drivers? And in that case, if there's no need for drivers to that extent for that equipment, or drivers who are just outside of just safety requirements where they're just watching that the truck doesn't crash into anything, that's going to bring the question of, do we need brokers? Do we need dispatchers? And ultimately, do we need anything more than lumpers? So that would be extremely disruptive to the entire logistics industry. Absolutely. And then Justin Oxford saying, I think I would jump out of it, OTR, if it meant I needed to buy an electric truck to compete with rates dropping due to lower costs to move the freight. Very well said, Justin. That is a very good point you say, because you're being forced into a piece of equipment that you may or may not want, and you're forced to take certain risks in order to compete in the very same market that you were able to compete. And this is being forced because your prior equipment that has been running for 100 years is banned. So yeah, no, definitely very good point. I think we're all going to be asking these questions, ourselves and others in the near future. And we're going to have a lot more questions from the younger generation entering into the trucking industry, because those young guys that call me, and a lot of them in our channel, and that's cool, and no disrespect there, but when guys are asking me about PlayStations and whether or not the truck comes with a big screen TV or a satellite dish and stuff like that, it's like, no, you should be sleeping, because you have an 80,000 pound truck moving at highway speeds is very dangerous. Just a reminder. So yeah, there is that. And then who dispatches your truck? Would you like to tell me? He says it dispatches himself. So there you go. So they didn't account for any of these, these government incentives that can help offset the upfront cost of buying electric trucks. But these incentives can be especially significant in some areas. And electric tractors they found that they certainly take longer to charge, and they can't carry as much cargo because of batteries. This means you need, basically 2 electric tractors to do the same amount of work as diesel tractors. On top of that, it costs more to pay the workers to keep the electric tractors charged and running. Okay, now we're also going to solve this problem too. And in fact, there's companies already on it, and we're going to cover this as we go through this video. So I appreciate you guys sticking around. Looks like we got some more viewers. Thank you so much, you guys. If you get a chance, hit the like button. Let's get this video out there. Really kind of pushed from morning until, I came in the show really late, working on just this one story this Sunday afternoon. And I hope that this is going to be interesting to you guys, helpful, useful, things like that. So Adam Woods is saying that in his opinion, and he's either going to say something. He's saying that electric truck craze is a money grab in his opinion. I see what you're saying, Adam. Let's see here. What do we got? Nathan Eberly saying, I've been driving for 22 years. I figured that I'll be done in 5 years or less. So if it goes electric, hopefully I'll be done. Well, we hear you loud and clear, Nathan. I can see where you stand. Well, let's jump in. Let's see. And Pak ABYT says, that's great having the dispatch, your own dispatch. Justin Oxford, can I have your phone number? Guys, please don't share personally identifiable information, in any of our comments, chats, or anything, anyway, phone numbers, any of that information. For Pak ABYT, I welcome you in our channel, but please don't use that as a way to find prospects for your dispatch service. I know you've asked me a question last time. We didn't get a response, but you were asking about how to get truckers to work with you. And I wasn't very sure if you were a dispatch service or if you're some sort of other auxiliary third-party company, or maybe you're a broker or a freight forwarder. So I was trying to clarify that with you, but you may have been out there. No worries, my friend. Please stick around with our video. We're going to continue with Knight Swift. We're going to get into the big names now. Okay, so Knight Swift invested heavily in electric truck adoption and are now slowing it all down, you guys. They're slowing everything down because they're finding the high cost and weight of these trucks and their limited range and payload to be a major detractor, obviously. And so they decided to focus on, get this, natural gas instead. Okay, so there's actually been several manufacturers looking into natural gas powered heavy-duty vehicles. I've looked at these. There's some engines. We're going to show you some stuff. And actually, next week, there's going to be a show that's going to be showing you guys these. I'll give you all the dates. Everything is going to be in Las Vegas, doing a very, very big expo. PAK, sir, I appreciate you as well. Thank you very much. Justin Oxford saying, I would love to stay in the industry, but at this point, I've shifted my goals to make and save as much as possible to get out and invest in another business potentially. I'm only 32. Yeah, I mean, absolutely, man. Move around. We only got one life. Do what you got to do. Enjoy it. You know, it's one of those things. I got into this industry having zero experience, zero knowledge, zero understanding. The only thing, I was fresh out of college with a business degree and a lot of sales experience, and I thought this would be totally different than what it ended up being. This ended up being the most difficult business I've ever ran. I've ran several. This is one of the most, margin-wise is just razor thin. It's very difficult. The dispatch business came about later. You know what I mean? So these are things that you're going to expand. You're going to find. I found so many different sources of income that you can find in this business without ever driving a truck and still being very helpful and providing a lot of value. And additionally, there's always other places to be able to jump in and do things. But at the end of the day, it's, where do you want to spend your time? And is this something that's of interest? So thank you so much. And the Funktopus says, he says, no, how do you charge up a truck stop full of trucks? You're going to make something that looks like an old style drive-in with the chargers in place to the speakers. My friend, you're on right on the money. You know that Tesla is actually going to be doing exactly that in Los Angeles for their Tesla vehicles. Only they're going to be allowed there. They're going to park. They're going to have a little movie theater with a bunch of stuff. They're going to have an old style diner with burgers and stuff like that. They already even talked about what they're going to be serving. It's going to be somewhere in the heart of LA. It's going to be pretty rad, actually. But, I'm not a big fan of Tesla vehicles. I think they're cool, and all that. But I don't think the technology is there. The capacitance is there. I think the amount of damage that we do to the environment in the production of all these components is people close their eyes on that. It's kind of like, oh, the energy just comes from the sky. No, you have to burn old dinosaurs in order to create in order to create that energy. It's like, no, you have to have a bunch of, hundreds of thousands of people in indentured servitude digging up crap from a young age until death in order to get us the minerals that we need. I'm not really cool with that. You know what I mean? The grid won't support it. Yeah, exactly. The grid won't support it. You're absolutely right. So, yeah. So moving forward with the story, guys, Ryder offers currently already offers full service class 3 light duty cargo vans, and the trend is pretty clear. Despite the earlier mentioned issues that you and I have just discussed and all the concerns, light and medium duty electric truck sales doubled last year. So what does that mean? That means that it's moving forward. Now, they were only at 26,000 sales, for these light and medium duty, but that's okay. Things start off slowly. Now, there are some very serious people guiding the development of all of these projects. There's a lot of talent and experience here, and there's a lot of money involved. The industry will change over time. We shouldn't expect major change happening at once. Slowly, the old diesel burning semi will be replaced. Will it be better or not remains to be seen. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of people for and against it, and I'm neither. I'm geek at heart. I'm all about tech, but I also believe that once you start involving, like for example, recently they took off the rear quarter panels off of the Tesla Cybertruck, and they found that there's absolutely no insulation. There's nothing there. It's just insulated wiring, some minor parts that are covered with a piece of basically like a sheet of metal, right? So I don't want my car that way, want to have everything that it's supposed to come. Like you can't be cutting costs. Like one of the things is Toyota started to put less paint on their vehicles, right? So to save on that, on their millions and millions in production. So all these things happen. I'm not cool with that. You know, if I'm going to, and we're paying top dollar for these things more than ever, man, since we can't afford these things in fully, we're financing them at the highest rates we've seen in decades. So, you know, at least if I'm going to, you know, do that, at least give me a full product, right? That's not going to break on me in a few years, you know, with, what do they call it? Obsolescence, programmed or whatever, you know, ahead of time things are to break. So guys, if you get a chance, please smash the like button. I'll do a little, let me do this, kind of break it up so I'm not just sitting here reading and all this other stuff, because we got another section I'm going to jump into about some of the major players and all this other stuff. But I want to do a little talk about here. Every week we do these videos, not just these ones on Sundays, but we do weeklies on Fridays. Those of you guys who watch our channel, you know, I'm going to just get on my soapbox for a second. In those videos, we show you guys our customers. So they consist of two categories of folks, right? We have carriers who have their own MC authority. Those work with our dispatch service. And then you have the lease on owner operators, folks who lease on with another outfit, and they, you know, they basically work. Either way, you work with the same dispatchers. And the difference is if you have an MC, you know, you go one direction. If you don't have an MC, then you go the other direction. And that's completely fine. Either way, you work with the same dispatchers. But if you guys are not making the kind of money that we talk about in those videos, and you see yourself in those drivers who are driving those miles, who are driving those areas, things like that, and you're saying, hey, look, you know, I could do that. That's not that big of an issue. You'll see if you go back week after week after week, you'll see some names will actually constantly repeat. And these are out of a ton of people. So when you have some guys who are consistently doing that, that means that they're doing something right and their dispatcher's doing something right. And usually that means that they're listening to their dispatcher. Most of those guys have been with the same dispatcher for several years, and so they know each other very well. So if you guys are willing to be coachable, teachable, you want to do some things differently, maybe you want to take a different approach, if you're open to working with your dispatcher, if you're open to letting go of the reins a little bit, then we can certainly help you out. Now with the leasing program, you know, that's all included. But one cool thing that we do offer is that if you stubbornly want to continue dispatching yourself, you're more welcome to do that. You can book yourself. That's fine. What I recommend is kind of a hybrid approach where take advantage of the dispatchers as well. You're still going to be assigned a dispatcher you're going to be working with. So if you do find a good deal and you end up negotiating a good rate and everything's cool and you like it, send it over to dispatch. Say, hey, I negotiated this deal. That's the broker. Here's the contact. You're going to get a setup packet in a moment, and this is the price. They'll take care of the paperwork and get you to Raycon, and you'll be on your way. So that's also allowed. So thank you guys for that. I'm going to switch back over onto kind of like the solo mode here. Let's look at some of the comments here. We got guys saying that the boomer generation, Adam Woods is saying the boomer generation that lived through the peak of the Cold War will never not be scared of nuclear. Those guys will never be scared of anything. Those guys, you know, can probably, you know, start a truck with some aluminum, you know, tin foil and, you know, a couple of AA batteries. Those guys, that's a different generation, my friend. It ain't the boomers, it's the zoomers that only know what TikTok says. That was the Funktopus. I'm going to have a hard time with that one for a show or two, but cool name nonetheless. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, every generation before us has always complained about the one after us. So let's kind of jump in, guys. There's some major players. They're working on changing the actual infrastructure. And as you can see, I'm going piece by piece in all this because I want to paint a picture of that all the components for the entire whole of if you will, is there. It's coming together and some big names behind it. So there's some major players in the infrastructure, in the power grid game. A lot of money's coming in from federal government in a form of grants, loans, and otherwise subsidized or guaranteed financing. Again, these are personal notes I wrote this morning on my laptop. Typed it all in, and then, you know, basically I'm going to make a story, and then you can check that out. Also, these things I've kind of fell off the wagon, if you will, or whatever the term is, for making blog posts. But recently I made these two blog posts: dispatch service for owner operators in 2024, and then trucking on autopilot, dispatch services that work. And there's, you know, these things, you know, there is some good information. Many of you guys looking for info will be able to do that, and you can just fill out any of these forms. Oh, I apologize. I pushed the wrong thing. Pushed the wrong button. I should pay better attention. So, you know, here's a story, these two stories that I did, and then there's this one. And, some will be more helpful than others. Some of these things are talking about compliance and safety, and some things are talking about like the 13-month decline in freight tonnage. We made a video about that, about freight recessions being over. We look at different things, streamlining, understanding brokerage fees and how those rates are set up. So we're not just like marketing dispatch services or whatever, like I do a little bit of that too, because I need to please the search engines as well. But I every one of these, I promise you, are very actually useful. Every one of these, you're going to walk away with something. And I'm working on developing some things to make this even easier so that you can, the website can read it to you. So when you're writing, you just listen through it through your speakers or headset or whatever. But you can already do that with your phone, by the way. So if you wanted to do that, you could already do that through your phone. So guys, one such player that we're talking about in terms of getting all the stuff moving forward is, let me actually go back to here, is going to be a company that many of you guys probably didn't hear about. So what it's called is Forum Mobility. Forum Mobility, they state, and I took a portion of this off of a snippet of Google or their website that's talking about their company, and basically they state that they offer the charging infrastructure, trucks, and technology needed for clean, emission-free delivery of goods in and around ports. This is where it's going to begin. I have videos that I can show you guys. I caught them on Instagram. I sent them to myself and saved them to show you guys. And maybe that's what we'll do. But what's going on is that everything is starting around port work. They already have fully autonomous, just like ants running around. And I think it's in Port of Los Angeles or in California, Port of Long Beach. Because they're finishing, and they were supposed to do this in May. They said in May, and they recently said that as well. It was supposed to be like May 14th or something like that. So this may, for all I know, is just days away or already operating. This is a different thing. Because they're finishing up a big project with the Port of Long Beach, which will keep 200 drayage trucks charged using high-speed chargers. So that problem's behind us. So to this, saying this is still very far away. This project is slated to complete by the end of the year. So that one is there. Oh, I'm going to show you this one. This is a different story. So Forum Mobility is at the end of this year. 200 trucks, drayage, so I mixed those two stories. Port of Long Beach. So that's at the end of the year. Here's the next one. Velocity Truck Rental and Leasing, some of you guys have worked with them, said the other day that, and this was like literally the other day, that they'll be putting online 47 high-powered charging stations at 4 strategic dealer locations across Southern California, scheduled to be fully operational in May of 2024, this year. The high-power chargers have been installed at their facilities in Rancho Dominguez, 17 chargers, Fontana, 14 chargers, the City of Industry with 14 chargers, and 2 more chargers in San Diego. Beautiful, beautiful San Diego. There's another company called ChargePoint that's developing a new charging system called Megawatt Charging System, MCS. Specifically designed for electric trucks, the system will be capable of delivering much faster charging times compared to current technology, enabling efficient electrification of the trucking industry. MCS, or this ChargePoint Megawatt Charging System, is also designed to support future higher capacity vehicles and has applications in marine and aviation industries. The initial rollout will provide up to 1.2 megawatts of power with the potential to reach 3 megawatts in the future. You guys still with me on this? We're moving forward through this. Now we got the connector that will actually allow that. We got the trucking companies. We have the companies working on the infrastructure and the grid. We have companies putting in the charging into the infrastructure, and we have the companies actually running the actual builds of these things and putting in the autonomous software, because that's where we're going next. That's where we're going next. Autonomous and even driverless. So if we're looking at this with our eyes open, we have to do that. If we're being honest, we have to open up our eyes, is what I'm saying. So let's move on to the big boys, because now you have Volvo and Mack. These guys, Volvo Trucks, Mack Trucks, sister company, by the way, working with renewable diesel and renewable natural gas. This is going to be mind-blowing. They found success with dairy waste for renewable natural gas production and hydro-treated vegetable oil, which reduces CO2 emissions by 75 to 85%. So why not focus on that? Why not focus on that? No, we have to reinvent the wheel. Moving on to another big boy, Cummins. This one I followed for some time, for several years, because Cummins was developing something before people jumped into it, like the other manufacturer jumped into it. And it was cool because they continued it. And I'm going to talk about that now. Now, Pack ABYT is, and I'm assuming, I've been trying to break up your name. I'm assuming Pakistan in, probably AB is in Canada. So what is that? AB, I'm trying to think. For some reason, I'm thinking Manitoba, but that's not the case. And then YT for YouTube. One more question. Actually, I'm learning about dispatching. I would like to jump in the industry. Please suggest, is it the right time for it? Okay, so here's the thing. It just depends. You know, every time, any time's a good time. So I've been through good and bad times. I've been through terrible times. I've shut down my business more than once. I've had dispatchers steal my business before. I've had market changes. Alberta, that's what it was. Alberta, thank you. There's Adam Woods with the correct answers. So let's see. Bam. So there's always going to be, there's never going to be a perfect time. The question is, how are you going to learn these skills? I would go somewhere, I would learn these skills, because is it fair for you to practice on someone else's truck, on someone else's operation, on someone else's, because how are you going to gain their business? You're going to have to lie to them, right, to do that. And that's not cool, because if you, and I don't know what level of experience you have. Maybe you have more experience than that carrier, that trucker. Maybe you're going to bring value to them. As long as you're bringing value, it's all good, man. Adam Woods, man, you're awesome, and I can like sense the good vibes, man. So talking about Cummins. Cummins is also doing their thing in their alternative fuel world, and they have been quite involved for some time, as I mentioned. They've been working on a natural gas engine which produces engine power output comparable to a diesel engine. They literally are. It's very, very close on both torque as well as horsepower, and the curves are pretty much identical. The cool, and this is not even from this is just something that I saw. Now, the cool thing about their X15N natural gas engine is that when filled with RNG, it produces a net negative CO2. So running the truck on that fuel in particular is actually beneficial to the environment. You get net 10%, so that's a benefit. So we just got to run those things all day long, and we're going to improve the whole climate. Now, Kenworth, as another big boy, will actually run that engine, the X15N motor, with the Hexagon Agility RNG system in their T680 and T880 big boy semi trucks, and will, showcase them in Las Vegas, that I mentioned, coming up on May 20th through the 23rd at the ACT Expo, which is the largest advanced commercial vehicle technology show in the world. All right, there we go. That's the extent of my magical powers. Let's see. I really think buses should be electrified first. Better air for kids, 100%. Shorter drives between charges, 100%. Use the emergency backup power, absolutely. So, Erie, great points. That's actually exactly what's happening. California did that. They did electrification, they did electric systems, they did hydrogen-based. They've had several explode. There were some issues. Luckily, no one has been unalived. But that's basically where they're starting. That's where they're going towards port work, drayage. They're doing more the automated systems there where there are no other vehicles or people involved, so less chances of accidents, things like that. And they're doing this systematically moving forward. And as you can see, there are big players here. Volvo, Mack, Cummins, Kenworth, and Peterbilt is doing the same thing with their 579 trucks. So there's that. And also Hexagon Agility, the company behind this RNG technology, they actually received a 3-year contract extension with UPS. And here's the thing, the agreement is for their RNG, which is renewable natural gas fuel systems for heavy duty trucks. They're going to be bringing in basically the systems, and they will run the X15N engines within those. So we can pretty much bet our butts on it, man. We're going to have the biggest manufacturers running those motors, running that Cummins motor, because it's a net positive, right? So to the industry, net negative in producing, carbon emissions. So it's actually a very, very good thing. Now, let's move to more of a real world autonomous company, okay? There are many out there, as mentioned, and we've covered this before. We covered many over the years, and they've all made great strides in progressing the technology. Where they are today is eons ahead of where we were just a few years ago, is where I wrote here in my notes. Now let's start back up with Ryder. Keep coming back to it as the center point of this whole thing. Ryder has invested a likely very, very large dollar amount into a company called Gatik. Gatik is a technology provider for autonomous middle mile trucks working with Isuzu. Isuzu also made some major strides with, I believe it was hydrogen-based technologies. And Isuzu, who themselves have taken big steps in this arena, are also indirectly working with these companies. And Ryder stated that the Ryder is open to becoming Gatik's customer as well, not only just an investor, but are much more interested in a fully autonomous and driverless Class 8 truck that can go OTR and not just run local and regional. So you see that progression? And these are the big names. Ryder's coming in and saying, look, develop this software further, develop these engines further, develop these things further, and then we're a buyer. We're huge. We'll do this all over our trucks. And ultimately what? We're going to have driverless equipment that's out there. Still saving for that Tesla semi. Yeah, like I said earlier in the video, that's one truck we wanted to buy. It would have been a perfect fit for our application, but I'm not too concerned with it now. I felt like I missed a good opportunity later in time as more information came out. I felt that actually was okay because I felt like we dodged a bullet. So time will tell, but we definitely need to have these types of technologies. We need these things to crash and burn, and for improvements to be made and progress. So thank you guys. I'm going to ask again if you guys could smash the like button. I really would appreciate that. Subscribe if you haven't done so. We're almost done here. I think this will definitely paint the picture. Let's go with the big boys now. So what is all of this coming down to? Like, what is the ultimate end game here? Well, let's look at the biggest manufacturers at this point. Daimler Truck and Volvo Group. These two major truck manufacturers are planning a new joint venture focused on developing software for self-driving or software-defined heavy-duty trucks. This follows their previous collaboration on hydrogen fuel cells for trucks. Plus, Volvo is expanding its network of dealerships that are certified to sell and service electric trucks. This suggests they are anticipating more demand for electric trucks. Daimler has an extensive Daimler, this is the part I was going to talk to you guys. Daimler set up an executive they promoted to oversee both their custom chassis and school bus businesses. So there you go. Erie was saying that, for the buses, to do that, and gave some points, 3 points on why that would be a good point, and that's what they're focusing on. And we're talking Daimler Trucks and Volvo Group. Now, Penske Truck Leasing, many of you guys are familiar with those guys, a major truck leasing company. They joined an industry group that advocates for more charging infrastructure for electric trucks. This suggests growing interest in electric trucks. Why would Penske do it why would they do that? Why would they invest their resources into that if they weren't interested in moving forward with that in the future in some shape or form? Finally, Isuzu Motors Ltd. and Isuzu Motors trucks and stuff like that. This Japanese truck maker is launching a new medium-duty truck engine co-developed with Cummins, a leading diesel engine manufacturer, and also achieved record sales in 2023, last year. And they're working with a company called Gatik that we just talked about on developing self-driving trucks for short-haul delivery routes. So these were kind of the closing statement that I put here for myself in my notes, is that it seems that everything is getting ready to launch when it comes to the electrification of the trucking industry. And it's first and foremost being led by the state of California. It's also happening much sooner and much faster than most people ever thought possible. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk, folks. There you have it. What do you guys think? Edison Motors from BC has some very interesting options as well. They offer a hybrid option using the diesel engine generator. Adam Woods, right on the money. So I've been following those guys. My brother has been just in love with their equipment. I think, and the owner of Edison Motors has actually stated that their equipment does not have the proper application to run on OTR or anything like that. It's a perfect application for logging and that type of extreme heavy haul, things like that. But the idea is fantastic. In fact, for those of you guys who stuck around, I'll add a little additional piece. So when I was a teenager, I was very much just enthralled with the idea of alternative energy. Now, not in the crazy ways of like bringing energy from whatever, the ether, but from the idea of using electric turbos on small displacement motors, on the idea of being able to use HHO or hydroxy. In that process of doing all this research and just reading online what was available, and back in those days, not a lot of information was available online. The internet was still very, very young. But in the process, I reached out to a gentleman who was already in his latter stages of life at the time, but very busy, and he was developing electric turbos as well as HHO systems that ran on his own kind of homemade home brew of juice that he also sold that provided for best conductivity or electrification or whatever you want to call it, and splitting hydrogen and oxygen from water through electrolysis. Now, at the time, that was considered, and to this day, it's considered these things are impossible. But those are the very ideas being developed now under the hydrogen systems and the hydrogen fuel cell systems. And we've also seen lots of examples of basic HHO systems developed in mason jars that have cleaned out engines, took out all the gunks, reduced emissions by over 50%, improved fuel economy by over 50%, things like that. So there's a ton of information about that available. And the reason I bring it up is because I got actually into conversations with him. He was an older gentleman living somewhere in Florida, and he was at that time years and years and years ago, and he's probably passed by now, and hopefully he's around and doing all kinds of stuff. But apparently, going back to the 60s and 70s even, he was very well known in the circles because he was running these different types of vehicles in a track, on the track in races, quarter-mile runs. And he was telling me how they had this one like Harley that would pop wheelies in fifth gear. He was telling me about vehicles, cars and trucks that were running, like 19 pounds of boost off of electricity running on a small displacement motor. That's quite a lot. That's quite a lot. Yeah, it's not semi-truck levels, but those are very small displacement motors. So this stuff was very, very fascinating to me. And he was offered to sell the technology to Daimler, Chrysler. Mercedes-Benz, their division, actually offered to buy it from him. Nissan offered to buy it. There was a few different buyers or offers, and he denied all of them. He put in a lot of money. His wife probably thought he was insane because he was just constantly tinkering around in the garage and doing all these things. And he had developed. Then I was a kid. My interest changed and I moved forward. But it was very interesting, and it brings back these memories because I stuck with the idea that was still possible. The general idea behind all these things, why is efficiency. And the idea is that there is no free electricity, right? Or there's no free energy. And so the idea is that it takes more energy for us to produce energy. And so therefore we have a net negative because we're having to put in more than we actually get out of it. That's why gasoline, diesel, all these things are not very efficient because we're only getting a partial burn. But imagine if we increase that burn, and basically make improvements in that section. So it, made me really think that over the last 15, 20 years, how much things have really changed and come together. And then we still see this trend in the very same direction that I was seeing it as a kid 15, 20 years ago. So there are definitely a lot of challenges, but there are also benefits whether we like it or not. And, technology will continue to move forward, whether we choose to accept it, and run with it is going to be a different story. So definitely, yeah, Edison trucks, yeah, definitely like them a lot. Ethan Eberly saying, as a DOT officer, when trucks go fully automated with no driver, who's responsible for driving when there's no driver, and how do you inspect them? And they didn't have an answer for that, and I don't blame them. I don't think any officer is going to be there. They're just going to tell you what they're being told, because those are the questions that are need to be answered. Who's going to take liability? Where do insurance companies going to hear? Do the same coverages and premiums still cover the potential damages? Who do you sue? Who's at fault? What if a human is at fault? Or what if there are technical glitches and errors? What if there's a hack attack, of some sort of, there's a lot of questions. In fact, a number of years ago, Mercedes in Germany, in the European division, brought up a very interesting philosophical argument. They actually came to a conclusion, I believe, at the time, and it was in order to be able to get through all these legalese and be able to figure out who to insure, who's at fault, and answer all those questions previously stated. And the idea was, they asked, well, if you got a Mercedes, electric, fully autonomous, driverless Mercedes with, I don't know, let's say 3-4 passengers, and there's an unavoidable, there's an unavoidable scenario where someone will be unalived, okay? Someone will perish. And do you save the people inside the vehicle, or do you save the people on the sidewalk? And the response, after careful deliberation and going back and forth, was save the passengers, unalive the people on the crosswalk. If the vehicle is able to make a decision, basically, if the vehicle, the automated system, needs to have a bias, do I save these people if the opportunity presents, or do I save these people if the opportunity presents? And it has to make a choice. And they basically chose that the public will be at fault. The passengers need to be saved. So there's that. Now, what we may come here in the United States might be different. The vehicles might be programmed different. There's all sorts of stuff. But at the end of the day, liability issues are going to be the biggest thing that's going to be tough. I mean, imagine the first number of lawsuits and how nuclear their verdicts will be. Okay, so, and what we got here, let's see, is that still working? What about these electric trucks in -40? Have they solved that problem? So they warm up the batteries, things like that. So that's one thing that they found, is that the capacity goes out the window right away. Like in terms of battery capacitance, it just plummets when it's very, very cold outside. Same thing with payload. Same thing with grade. So if you have 80,000 pound, full truckload, I think they run at 84,000 or 86,000 pounds in total. You're fully charged, and it's extremely cold outside, and you're going up a steep hill. You're going to lose a ton of capacity. In fact, it was so much that although Pepsi wasn't supposed to really talk about the details, and that was part of their agreement not to really discuss these things, they did have a few short things, some blips to say, because they were very unhappy with the first set of Tesla semi-trucks that they got, because they weren't even able to run these things on basically a localized basis. Like, they were just not enough juice. All right. So kind of a tough one. So, but it technology, it has to, these things will get better. Guys, thank you so much for sticking around. I can see that the interest is waning, but we did cover the story in less than an hour. I definitely appreciate your time. I ended up going through the whole thing. I will still post it on our website. It will just take me a little bit more time to be able to fill in all the details, make this more accessible, and I'll put it on our website, on this website, with links, citations, all the information. And big thanks to FreightWaves for providing that initial article that you can that I definitely recommend, and I'll leave all the links down there. Alan Adler, I think it was, is the gentleman, Alan Adler at FreightWaves, who wrote that article. Excellent job, sir. So here we are, guys. Truck dispatchers worth their salt. Resilience, tenacity basically says that we have years of experience, which is absolutely true. We've gone through multiple ups and downs in the markets. We are the very best truck dispatchers out there. Our top customers that that you see in our videos are the ones that you don't see in the videos, that run a little bit differently, that may not be making as much, that make the weekly videos, but they're definitely running very good rates. Some of them running in a supplemental basis. Some of our customers have their own direct customers, and so we work with that. Sometimes you get backhauls. Ultimately, we only work with semi-trucks. We work exclusively with tractor-trailer combinations, not hot shots, not box trucks, no Sprinter vans, or LTL. We focus on what we do best: semi-trucks, pulling dry vans, reefers, and flatbeds. It's all on our website if you guys have any interest at all whatsoever. You want to get more information. We are not the salesy type, nothing like that. We're never going to push you guys or into anything. We have a ton of good information provide you guys on our website, online. We can also get get on the phone, talk to us if you have any questions. If you're a new carrier, you're probably going to want to get all your permits. We have an email we can send out to you at no cost whatsoever. A lot of people, they'll talk to me. They think I'm trying to sell them something. We're not. That was an email that I wrote for someone who really needed some help, and I started writing it, and it became super long, and it became very helpful and useful. I kind of formatted it, and I kept it, and I've been sending that email ever since, and it's been very helpful to a lot of people. In that email, there's also an attachment. You click on it, download attachments, a 4-page PDF that will help you guys be able to get through their new entrant audit. So it's going to have, 4 pages of all the questions, things like that. It's going to have a point system. The higher the points, the more important they are, and more likely that the DOT officer is going to be reviewing that specific section. So I highly suggest you focus on that section. So that will help you. And we charge 7% flat rate. We do not have any sort of, we don't have contracts. We do have an agreement, and the agreement is very, very simple. What do you expect from us? What we feel like we can expect from you, etc. Very, very simple. There are no additional fees. There are no minimum charges. We do not have weekly minimums. We do not have minimum charge. It's just super straightforward. Super simple, over a decade in business, years in business with the leasing side. Here you are, owner-operators. Very, very simple, 100% owner-operated fleet, same dispatchers, complete transparency in all the documents that we get you. And since this is on a site, I think you can still get Kevin to give you 87%. Again, no hidden fees, straightforward driver settlements, consistent year-round freight, no forced dispatch, fair compensation, and you can even book yourself if you want to. Includes all the factoring fees and all the stuff for the lease-on guys. We don't, they're not going to tack on a bunch of crap. So just make sure, compare, contrast, maybe ask Kevin for some driver settlement reports, compare those, how they ran, where they ran, how much fuel they bought. And if you got an apples to apples, and then the other guy's like, okay, I'm making like $1,500 more here, or maybe you're going to find like, hey, the money's about the same in gross, but the expense is a lot lower, so I would actually keep more money in my pocket doing the same damn thing. So in that case, maybe, shift some gears, things like that. So definitely, definitely something to consider. Guys, if you have any questions or anything like that, very, very happy to answer those for you. Alex doesn't look like he'll be joining us today, which is completely fine. But you can also call in at 801-448-6363, hit extension 3, that'll come out here. We'll put you live on the show. And as long as we don't have any audio problems, we're going to have a good time. So definitely get in touch with us. If you haven't done so, please hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. We produce a ton of content for you guys. We don't bombard you guys with a ton of useless crap. That's why our videos all these years have been basically one video per week. We do not spam you to death on email or anything like that. We do not do a million different phone calls. From the get-go, from the beginning, we always just wanted to be helpful to you guys. And of course, there is a cost associated with that, but we always bring value. So that's what's super important. So we got some questions and comments in the chat. I think safe sidewalk people first. The riders are in the vehicle that has safety features, airbags, OnStar, and in the metal box. And that's what they were saying. So basically what they were saying is that if the probability of that impact will result the riders, the passengers of the vehicle to survive, then go for that. So in either case, it was going to be the people on the sidewalk were just SOL, straight out of luck. You know what I mean? Thank you. And MassMec is saying diesel and gasoline aren't going anywhere. No infrastructure, short on materials and supplies, economies are broken. Yeah, exactly. And that's the truth. This isn't going to happen anytime soon. They're going to continue building these trucks. The very same manufacturers like, Volvo and Mack and, and Freightliner and everybody else is going to continue doing this. They're just going to be taking a portion of their resources and putting into research and development, R&D of these other areas because they know that the laws are being written. The EPA, different coalitions, different organizations, the federal government, state organizations, state legislatures, they're all having this come together moment where they're doing all these things, and those timelines are pushing forward. It's just we as humans tend to look at it and say 2048 is a long time ago. I'm going to be an old man by 2048. But the truth of the matter is, it's not like everything's going to be exactly the same, and then come January 1st, 2048, the world will be a different place to live in. That's not how it works. It's basically going to go to crap over time. It's just we'll arrive in the crap chute, we'll exit the crap chute, if you will, sometime in 2048. You know what I mean? So that's really where it ultimately comes down to. And I sure wish that we could keep these comments, the chat comments in the video once it goes, because some really cool comments there. Really appreciate you guys. Screw the jaywalkers, huh? Well, it's kind of like, well, I had the intention of stopping, but he was a jaywalker. Nah, guys, ultimately, it's definitely interesting, because what we're seeing from this trend is that we have all of the independent pieces together comprising the whole of the entire program. You know what I mean? In terms of who's gonna produce the electricity? How will it be produced? What about the trucks? is there a way, problems with charging? Okay, that is an issue. Now they got a company that figured out how to do that at a higher rate, right? Faster. Can we automate the whole damn thing? That's what they're working on, multiple companies. All right. Can we feed each other information, have a database of all this information? Like, hey, there's a truck on this highway, on this road, on this mile marker, there's a hole in the road. Okay, one truck blows the tire, the rest of them know, they all go around it. We can't do that. We use CBs for jokes and telling stories. And even if that wasn't the case, you know what I mean? You just cannot propagate such specific information throughout the entire network of human beings. You can't do that through network computers all day long. So it's going to have benefits. Now, there's going to be other things. There's going to be people popping tires and doing all sorts of bad things to these trucks in order to keep them off the roads. There's going to be accidents. There's going to be all sorts of problems. But ultimately, eventually, it's all going to lead to that area. And I think hydrogen is going to be the leading fuel source for all of those things. And it's so crazy to see what an old gentleman who operated and was developing these technologies before I was even born, and he continued doing that for the remainder of his life, and hopefully he's still around, as I've said. And now, years later, we're seeing people picking up on this technology, massive amounts of dollars being invested into these technology, development of these technologies. And whether you like it or not, you're either going to find yourself driving one of these trucks eventually if you're young enough and going to stick around in this industry long enough. Or, like some of the guys in our comments said, no, I'm going to walk away from this. I'm not going to deal with this crap. So that's the idea there. That's the idea there. So, guys, thank you so much for sticking around. I don't have an outro song for you guys. Maybe we'll find something good to play, definitely. But I don't have something to kind of do an outro for you guys, but I definitely appreciate every single one of you guys. Thank you for stopping by weekly. Thank you so much for all the shares of all the regular videos. It's super cool, man. When we started this thing, we had like no viewers, no nothing. We had a few videos blow up. I'm definitely not on Miranda's level. I definitely don't have that type of viewership. I don't have that subscriber base. I don't have such a community. And but if you're from there, please feel free to subscribe. Would love to have you guys here. Again, Alex and I are working on doing a bunch of shorts. We did a short with Ronan at ET Transport out in Canada. Thanks a lot, Adam. Really appreciate it, man. That really definitely helps a lot. Thank you very much, sir, and everybody who stopped by. So we're definitely working on a lot of stuff. I'm trying to develop a system. Will be unique, one of a kind. That's no one's built yet. And unfortunately, I've been running into so many tech issues, and I just don't have the skill set just yet to be able to actually implement it. But it's going to be a very interesting thing, and you're going to find the results of that in our blogs. Super, super useful stuff. I'm looking to provide all kinds of stuff. I'm looking to have a developer update our app. We have an AFT Dispatch app that you can download on Google Play, the Play Store or whatever they call it. So it's all there. We just have to really catch up and get these things done. But the core of our business is very solid. It's very strong. We've been doing it a lot. And thank you. Thumbs up for that. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Erie. Let's see. Just got here. I'll have to watch the replay. Yeah, please do. I really appreciate that, Gem Hater. Thank you so much. Always good info coming out of this channel. I really appreciate that. Thank you much, and I think you'll enjoy this video as well. Really appreciate it. So, guys, again, we're probably, not going to have a ton of views on this video in particular. Hopefully, we do. I really think the information here is quite interesting, eye-opening, and although we didn't, open up a new industry or something that nobody knew, but at the end of the day, guys, I think it's super important to be able to, instead of closing our eyes and saying, like a horse with blinders on, saying that, I don't know, there's nothing going around, I stick my hand in the sand, everything's fine. There's people that do that. There's people that just want to destroy the idea of like, that won't work, this won't work, that won't work, while others are making it happen. So the bottom line is that this industry will change. It is changing. What's going to happen when you don't need drivers? What's going to happen when the cost of fueling the truck is going to be cheaper? What's going to happen when they're going to normalize the cost of acquisition of such expensive trucks? All of those things will happen. It's just a matter of time. And yes, some guys are going to be too old to see the benefits of that or to see that in action, but some guys are just entering the business as we speak. They're going to be going through that entire metamorphosis. So guys, again, thank you so much. As a last ask, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. We see you guys in some of the videos we got prepared and coming up next week on our Friday video, and then next Sunday at 3 p.m. Mountain Time, 4 p.m. Central. Thank you very, very much, guys, and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Take care, guys. Let me see if I can dig up a track here for you guys. Let's see. I got something, and it will be a track you guys have already heard, and hopefully the guys in YouTube won't just throw this and say, you know what, you can't play this music. What do we got here? Let's play. I always like this one. Yeah, it's a good outro track. A little funky something this Sunday evening, afternoon, wherever you are. Thanks again for everybody sticking around. Really appreciate it, guys. You guys are awesome. Alrighty, guys. Thank you for stopping by. Have a great weekend. Take care. Be safe next week.